In today's episode, we're going to answer the question, what is authentic leadership? We have a star guest coming on to share with us and role model for us her impact as an authentic leader in a district where she's changing outcomes daily.
At Initiative One, we're igniting a leadership revolution by helping organizations eliminate the drama, improve decision-making, and win as a team. Join Dr. Fred Johnson on the Leadership Initiative podcast as we uncover insights to maximize your impact and transform your life.
Welcome back to the Leadership Initiative. My name is Tracy Johnson. I'm the CEO at Initiative One, and I'm so glad that you've joined us here this morning. I want to welcome to the podcast today, Gina Marshanda. Gina is an educator for many years. How many years, Gina?
32.
32 years of education in the Fond du Lac School District. We'll let her give a little bit of history so that you get a sense of who Gina is. So as you're joining us here this morning, Gina, why don't you just share with us what is your background and how did you get into public education and how do you stay with it for 32 years?
Well, thank you for having me.
Of course.
And I started in education probably because a lot of my family is in education. So it's just something that many of my family members do. I've been teaching for 32 years. I started out in Kiel, Wisconsin, and then came to Fond du Lac. I did a short stint as an adjunct professor at Marian University.
Amazing.
But I taught second grade most of my career. I've taught in about 4 different buildings over the 32 years. And about year 30, I thought, you know what? I think it's time to try something different.
And what was different at 30 years that you jumped into?
There was an opportunity for me to do my dream job. I've always wanted to be a technology integration specialist or an instructional technology coach. And the job opened up and I applied. And now I get the pleasure of helping teachers and students be empowered with technology.
Amazing, amazing. When I think about technological advances and how much we have to change and learn, and I think back to our first day in leadership transformation and some of the things that you shared in terms of that journey that you're describing and how you as a leader, not just a teacher, but a leader of classrooms for a very long time was able to pivot some of your greatest gifts into this role. And I'm wondering if you're willing to share with our audience some of those key things that allowed you to pivot into your current role and how you've really accelerated that growth across the district. And when I think about the district, Gina works within a district that has 14 different schools from K through 12, and a school district that really had been on an improvement journey, an overall improvement journey. And the results that you've had over the past 2 years have been remarkable. Some of the best growth data points in the entire state of Wisconsin. And I want you to talk about your leadership journey when you jumped into that ed tech role and how you've had to transform yourself first and then begin to transform teachers and students in terms of how they use technology and how it really can help engage and help kids to learn.
I think my starting point really was always knowing that I don't know everything and that I'm okay with not knowing everything. My students in my classroom would teach me things about technology. So if I wanted to try something new, I wasn't afraid to do it with children because children are very good at giving feedback. And they're also not afraid to try new things and experiment and make mistakes and get messy. And so I feel like I'm trying to bring that same vibe that I had in my classroom where the learning was reciprocal. I'm always looking to connect and collaborate with people that love to make mistakes, love change, and love to try new things, all for the sake of changing outcomes.
Yeah, excellent, excellent. So that brings me to the question of, as a leader, you've had to overcome some resistance and overcome resistance regularly. And I know you are not afraid to pick up the phone and call me and say, "Oh, here's what's in front of me. Here's my strategy. What am I missing?" And I think I want you to talk about, like, working with kids is different. You have that embracing change and learning, because that's what they're there for. That's their purpose. How does that play itself out in the adult environment where you're trying to coach and mentor teachers to be better at engaging the students in the classroom? What have you run into? What are those barriers or obstacles? And how have you used the work that we've done together to really overcome some of those obstacles?
So people will often say that I go fast.
Yes.
And I love change. I love learning. I love technology. And I have to remember that I need to meet people where they're at. Whether that be with instructional practices, whether that be with their comfort with technology, or whether that it's their emotional intelligence. Or even what they're going through in their life. Having empathy for the stage of life that they're in, or are they more focused on the science of education, or are they ready to talk about, like, the art of teaching?
When I think about 32 years in public education, and I think about your energy and your freshness and your engagement in the organization and the work that you do, that is phenomenal. It's phenomenal. It energizes me and it inspires me every time I connect with you, every time. And I'm wondering, my wonderment is, what happens when you get that person who's been in their role and they've settled, or they've accepted status quo, or they've accepted there's not a way to push through to kids, to the next generation, to be able to connect with them differently. How do you tackle that, Gina?
I usually just ask, what's getting in your way?
Simple question. What's getting in your way?
So I'm a Google certified trainer. And so some of the advice, or what I've read from connecting with other Google people, is that you often do, like, a gripe session. Let's put it on the table. Tell me what's getting in your way. But you don't live there. Then you start bringing solutions to the table. Let them pick the solution. But you also have to know, if they're not solutions-based, you need to go and help somebody else who's willing to grow.
And as people step into that, you're able to push through and break through barriers that have been in place, that they are able to move those students forward and move themselves forward.
Because we have a common goal.
Amazing.
The common goal is changing outcomes, and we want our kids to win.
I had the chance to listen to the school board meeting last week, and all of the data, the school data that was reported out a couple of weeks ago, was able to be shared with the school board in very simplistic ways. And I heard a lot over and over and over again, that consistent vision for the district. And knowing that you've been in the district for 30 years, at what point did that vision begin to take over the mantra that you hear today from everybody across the board? What point, and how were you able to implement that at the ground, I'll call it the ground level, in the classrooms, to be able to make impact in the way that you have?
So I think what's happening is we have enough people, and we're all speaking the same language. And we have the communication skills that we've always needed to communicate and grow fast, and know that, it's not personal. None of this is personal. We come to work every day because of the kids. We are child-centered. We are community-centered. What can we do for our community? And then I'm going to also say that there's this other mindset. So sometimes I think, when I reflect on my time at Fond du Lac, it was either that was a good choice or a bad choice. we've moved from that stagnant thinking of, am I in alignment or am I not in alignment? I need to pivot and recalibrate.
Love it. What that allows, I love that. I love the way that you just framed that, because what that allows is a continuous improvement mindset where failure it's not the enemy. Failure isn't the enemy. It's not something to fear. It's something to embrace, because if we fail, we've learned, right? And so how can we take that and pivot and get better again? And so, it's most leaders, when they first come into our process, they have a more of a perfectionistic, fixed mindset. It's either black or white, red or green. And what you just described is that we can get incrementally better over time, and we're going to lean in and we're going to go for it every single time.
Well, one of my favorite new email signatures is grateful for glitches, because they help us innovate.
I love that. I love that. Grateful for glitches. Gina, one of the questions I have for you is, as you think about your growth as a leader, and I've seen incredible growth over 2 years in working with you, where have been your pivots in terms of your self-belief, your confidence, your willingness to step into messiness, and really shine bright in terms of your leadership? What have your pivots been?
My pivots have been to listen to my intuition. So my first year, like a year ago, I noticed that every time I did not follow my heart and I did not trust my intuition, because I had people who had my back. I still do.
Yeah, you still do.
I still do. I need to be bold. I need to trust my intuition, because when I do trust my intuition, good things happen for teachers and kids.
How did you make that pivot? How did you was it a choice? Was it a process? How did you recognize that you needed to make that pivot?
I'd have to say it was more of a process, and part of it came from doing a time study, really thinking about reflecting on my daily calendar, and was I working on my ones and twos? Just a lot of reflection and thinking about how could I have done that differently.
Yeah. You're describing one of the most important practices or disciplines as a leader. And it's hard to do that in the midst of day-to-day work that has to get done, and a lot of people pulling at you. You describe walking through hallways. I've heard you describe walking through hallways where everybody wants a piece of Gina and to pull you in and to fix this piece of technology, and all of those busy tasks that can really drown out those impactful things that we need to do. And when you began, I think of this pivot because I know this was a growth pivot for you. How did you begin to set healthy boundaries in those moments? Like, what did that look like as you were having those conversations with somebody who is trying to pull you in to a classroom to fix a technology that really you knew how to do it, you could get it done easily, and yet you had to start setting boundaries and saying, no, I can't do that today. How did that work with the conversations of the other teachers? What were their reactions?
Well, I looked at it as an opportunity to teach people about the strengths and the awesomeness of the team that I'm on.
So you
Teaching them that we have technicians, we have a data and assessment coordinator, and they're very skilled and they know more than even I do. Yeah. So teaching people about our team, because we've had a lot of change. You know, we're growing. Yes. Our district is growing. We've got new roles, and just maybe taking the time to teach people about those roles. Maybe it's they just didn't understand in an email, or they didn't have time to read that email, or they just simply forgot. Just kind of teaching people about how our system works. Yeah.
So it's a way of setting boundaries, and actually it's two things that you're describing. One, you learned how to set the boundary that I'm not always the person that has to come in and do the fix. I have this wonderful team with me that can help. And so in that process, you're actually doing what's called transfer of trust, right? And that requires an incredible amount of trust in you, Gina, because if you have the trust of the team and they're willing to approach you and ask you questions, and I think we were talking earlier about you're an inclusive leader from the standpoint of you want everybody to have the gifts and the skills and the tools that they need at hand and be able to implement those. And so you're able to, in transferring trust, you're able to activate the rest of the team and really build out competency and connection across the entire technology team. So 2 steps. 1, setting the boundary for yourself and recognizing I can't do it all. And then secondly, and things that prevent us from doing that, I think about codependency or jumping, sometimes we think, oh, it'll be faster if I just fix it.
People pleasing.
And people pleasing. Oh, did we talk a lot about people pleasing? And so you want that immediate result. And yet the immediate result doesn't get the long-term results that you all have gotten in terms of increased student achievement, student growth that is off the charts in terms of the results of the what's actually happening in classrooms. So that would not have happened had you not begun down that journey of working with your team differently. What other challenges have you run into? Or what are your proudest moments even as a leader and in the role that you have today?
Well, I'd have to say I'm most proud that I am really living my 2-word purpose statement. And that when I am given tasks to do that I've never done before, I always remember, and I have a great support team that will remind me that you are here to elevate engagement. And it speaks to even working in classrooms. It speaks to people that I collaborate with. I love collaborating. And I always collaborated with lots of adults when I was a teacher.
Yeah.
And now it just feels so good to collaborate with so many different people in different roles. They give me so much energy. You are amazing, and I want to make sure that your energy shows up today because you are so spectacular and so special. I want that to shine, and I love that you've gone to your 2-word purpose statement. I think of some of the stories of you implementing the new school year and helping people to really get launched well, and you have this ability to rally troops. And I want you to talk about rallying the troops to get the school year off to a great start this year. Well, there's so much natural talent out there. And I recently had the opportunity to pull a group of teachers together. And I didn't jump fast. I had some that I knew that were in and wanted to help solve problems. And so I listen to teachers and I listen to who inspires them. And then I go look at data. So if we're trying to implement a change with a platform that we're using or solve a problem with a platform that we're using, I will look at who the top users are. And a lot of times they're the quietest teachers that are just in their classrooms doing the work, changing outcomes. And I'd have to say it was a pleasure inviting them to the table. And it was my first experience where I had a group of teachers that were empowered with a charge to solve a problem for our students, to make sure that all students were included, and that we could give teachers time back so that they could instruct, do the real work, the real teaching. And I just remember standing in that room and just in awe of the excellence and their focus on just making lives of teachers and students more efficient, making sure that we were helping children achieve. I really didn't say much that entire day. I just observed. And I just was so proud to be around such talent.
Isn't it amazing when your humility shines bright today. That's what's coming out for me right now. You have sparked something in the district that is very, very special. And that spark is what you're describing in terms of empowering voices of people who are actually leading. And when you get them collectively in the room, you're able, and you listen deeply, you're able to really ignite some powerful, powerful things in the district. And I'm so proud of you for the work that you've done.
Thank you, Tracy.
Super proud of you. One last question as we wrap up today. We went through the journey. We went through leadership transformation together, and I want to know from your perspective, I want to know 3 key takeaways that you have like clung to in terms of these are the things that really have driven my thinking, my mindset, my leadership across Fond du Lac School District.
Well, first I have to thank you and Dr. Margaret for being such fantastic mentors.
Thank you.
And what the two of you have really taught me is to be authentic. Be me. Don't be afraid to be. I am a little bit, I don't want to use the word crazy, but I am loud. I'm excitable, I'm animated, and because of the two of you.
You're amazing. You're amazing.
I've been able to be myself.
Yeah. And yourself has gotten so far in the last 2 years, not because you've been forcing things, but because you've been actually using your best gifts. And that's been amazing to watch. So thank you. It's been an honor. And so that's one thing. I'm going to give you a second to take a really deep breath because I know that this process has been impactful for you.
I'd have to say, when things get rough, I focus on myself. Always come back home. Your home is you. And work on making yourself better. Because when I make myself better, and people see that I am focused on myself, they'll do that. I want them to have that same gift.
It gives you a sense of calm when you're around you, even in the energetic Gina that I know, who's always impacting and running around and like, I've got to get this through. And you give such hope and joy and inspiration to people around you.
Aww.
And I know that hasn't always been the case. In the leadership transformation process, it has been amazing to watch you blossom in that way and share who you are at the core of who you are. And not try to cover or hide or be somebody that you're not, because it felt like that's how they need me to be, because you're the best version of you.
And the gift that I've had with the support of Initiative One, it's been priceless.
Amazing. I'm so glad that we have had a chance to get to know you and be a part of the journey of the Fond du Lac School District, because just as you all are very proud of your work, we are cheering from the outside and inside, saying, yes, this is what has to happen in public education for kids, because our communities depend on it, our schools depend on it, and life should be a joy as we're traveling through it. And I'm so excited that it is a joy for so many more students and so many more of the teaching staff, and you guys are just knocking it out of the park.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So glad to have you today. Thanks so much for joining us at the Leadership Initiative Podcast. So happy to have you here today. Please feel free to join us at our monthly think tanks, where a community of leaders come together and we share topics that are pertinent to your leadership. To register for those think tanks, just go to initiative1.com.